Hey, what's up everybody? Bdf 44 coming at you with another video. Alright, so it's pretty warm. About 87 degrees, nice heat. Figured I'd get out here and walk. My uncle was so gracious as to provide what I needed to pay for the room. So figured I'd just go down to the police station, walk, take care of that, come back. That way I won't have to worry about it over the next several days. So, you know, I mean, that's really what it's about. Just trying to force myself to get a little sweat in here and just get some exercise. The game starts at 4 o'clock. It's already 1, so this will give me enough time to walk down there, walk back, get a shower, and then watch the game. That's kind of what the plan is here. So there shouldn't be no snags. I'm not using any buses or trains or nothing. It's just me walking. So as long as I keep my pace right, I should be where I need to be. But yeah, 12:55 to be exact. That should leave me the exact time. I take about an hour to get down there and an hour to get back. It's a nice little 2-hour walk. I'm not doing anything else. So yeah, man. So I feel pretty good. I had a rough night with my stomach last night, but at least I got some answers. I am, in fact, not allergic to Powerade. We know that, because what it comes down to is there is garlic in the freaking tater tots. The extra crispy tater tots happen to be seasoned. So that's what it was. Those tater tots were once again putting garlic in my body, and my body of course does not do well with garlic. So, you know, I read the ingredients, or at least I thought I had, but the final ingredient at the bottom of the ingredient said garlic powder. So I must have looked at everything but that. I must have glanced over it without, you know what I mean, without reading it thoroughly in the store. So the other ones I don't think have garlic powder, the regular ones, but apparently the extra crispies are seasoned. And so Americans love seasoning everything with freaking garlic, and I can't eat anything. So I'm pretty tired of just all of that. But it was a lot of pain last night dealing with that. Even though I had gotten all of that out of my food, it was still digesting from the previous meal the night before. So I had a rough night with that. But you know, I was able to make a playlist last night I felt good about. Playlist 412. Thought it was fun for the most part to make that music come to life. And I have yet to do the art on that. I probably will do that after the game tonight. Set up everything I needed to get you know, myself out of this room tomorrow. Made sure that I you know, packed everything up just now, and you know, I didn't have to really do too much thinking in regards to that. Just because I have the new suitcase, it allows for more room and more space to put everything in that I need to put in. So it took about 25 minutes to get all that in there, and I'm set and ready to go for tomorrow. So yeah, man, that's really what it is for me. Just trying to do everything I need to do while squeezing in enough time to get some exercise, and this walk is supposed to help with that. You know, this freaking Laker game, man, being so early, you know, I'm tired of this schedule. I've been telling y'all this for weeks, but as somebody who follows this game as closely as I do and tries to, you know, bring forth content on every game, this schedule has been a hell of a burden for us, and I'm sure it is for the team and the coaching staff too. They just keep on putting the same games, same hours. You know, you don't get enough time in between games. Lakers ain't had more than 2 days off in over 2 weeks, it seems, and ain't gonna get it this week. It's like, yo, man, what are we doing? These are athletes, not robots. And so that's really what it comes down to. As a person like myself who's trying to cover the game, I barely got time to do anything that doesn't involve the Lakers because of how this schedule is set up. 3 weeks at a time, I can see that I'm not going to be able to get out of this area because I don't have a car. LA spread out the way that it is, and I got to be over here to watch the game. So it's like, dang, can y'all at least give us 2 days, 3 days off in between games? That's all I'm asking the schedule makers. Give us some damn time. And if you provide that time, then we can get, you know, we can kind of prepare the team, prepare our content, whatever our respective responsibilities are in this situation. But if you keep us having like 7 games in 10 nights. It's like, damn, we can't even catch our breath. So I don't know. I think the schedule makers are trying to prove a point to all those guys who are trying to load mayonnaise. I think this is them giving those people the finger, if I'm being honest with you. But at the same time, they're putting a hell of a lot of pressure on the surrounding people that have to do with this game as well to keep up with this damn schedule. It ain't pretty, man. So that's really what it comes down to. I'm just a little bit perturbed with just the overall responsibility of keeping up with a schedule that's really condensed. So I'm trying to keep up with it. What else going on, man? You know the content we like to talk about here, man. Well, like is not the right word, but we'll be consistent about talking about is the situation in Gaza, man. And last night they killed 2 reporters. Or was that this morning? It's hard to keep up. I think that might have been actually this morning, though. But one guy had reported on another guy's passing, and they killed him an hour later. It's just craziness going on out there. And then the bombing, it was a set of doctors reporting from a hospital in Gaza on CNN. And they were talking about how it's egregious how the media isn't covering this properly. And this is what's going on. This is what they're seeing and they're dealing with in real time. They bombed that same hospital with those same men an hour after that was recorded. Now, from what I understand, there's a decent chance that those doctors that CNN spoke with got the hell out of there. But the reality is, that's exactly what happened. They bombed them. Apparently, I guess they watched the they watched the footage, found their location based on that, and then bombed them to send a message. Now, my question is, after you aired that CNN, did you report that those people were bombed and sieged an hour later? That's the question I have for CNN. Did you report the fact that the people you just showed on television were bombed an hour after speaking with you in the same space that you were recording? From what I understand, it was like 5 American doctors there. This is one of them situations where it's like the Z's are making it very difficult to defend them if you're somebody who's trying to keep up the guise of this being just. Because they keep bombing hospitals, and you got people inside of those hospitals that CNN is communicating with, and then 5 minutes after they communicate with these people, you bomb them. It's like, those who want to lie for you to keep up your bull crap, you're not giving them a whole lot to work with. And this is what we often talk about with them. It's like they got this narrative going on and Hamas is the worst people in the world, this, that, and the third. But they do a terrible job of hiding the truth that they actually lie about. It's like me running around telling everybody I got on white shoes, and then I point the camera at my feet and you see their black shoes on. It's like, what you want us to do with that? And so that's kind of what's going on in this situation. And, you know, meanwhile, you got footage of independent American contractors being escorted into Gaza. American contractors who are supposed to be building up from the rubble. You see footage of them rolling in with their trucks, being escorted by IDF. It's like, okay. I guess this was done because there was a big threat, right? Ain't that what we're telling everybody? That this is a horrible threat and there was no other way to neutralize this threat than to neutralize the entire area with everybody in it hiding, or whatever all the supposed bad guys are supposed to be hiding in tunnels and hiding in buildings and hiding amongst people. But you're bringing in independent contractors. It's like, clearly you're here to turn this place into what it is that ultimately everybody knows it is. It's another America, another colonial project. It's not about nothing else. They want to turn that country into a space from which they can basically call it the 52nd U.S. state, more or less. That's supposed to be dedicated to Jews, but it's not dedicated to anything but colonial powers and practices, just like this place is, just like Canada is, just like Australia is, just like all these other places that they've done this in. This ain't nothing new. It's the same thing it's always been. And so as I speak to all of y'all, I don't speak no differently in regards to this communication. This is a problem because they're unapologetic and they're lying in our faces, but they're doing nothing to cover it up, which means they're just playing in our faces. They don't mean that we accept what they're doing. They're trying to throw us into a space of confusion and furthermore demoralization so that we'll just allow them to do whatever they want to do without resistance and be so fearful of their willingness to be vicious and violent as a means of keeping us from acting upon the resistance that otherwise will hold them accountable for this. So I'm not moved by that, as you guys know. I don't care about that, as you guys know. And that's really how I feel about it. You know, I was listening to, just a segue into something else, but it kind of comes together with what we're talking about. I was listening to Whack 100 sitting down with a bunch of people from the industry, and they were discussing modern topics, and one of the things he was discussing was Kanye West and what his position is, what he feels Kanye is doing, which wasn't a whole lot different than what it is that I said to you guys a few nights ago about what I think Kanye is doing, which is trying to normalize hatred as people have normalized hatred in regards to other topics. For example, he's trying to normalize hatred in taboo topics. As to say, this is what offends you, you do whatever you feel like doing in regards to topics that offend me, and so I'm going to turn around and offend you and minimalize it and use all these different offensive images, as you often have no problem minimalizing our pain and capitalizing off of it. He's doing the same. So it's like, that's what Wack said he was doing. I said something similar. But Wack said it's a problem because of the politics. The political, it is a problem when you do it to Jewish people because of the politics of the circumstance. They're not going to, you know, they control a lot. So you end up burning bridges that you ultimately need to keep your thing going. And furthermore, people are going to try to silence you from different angles because it's in their best interest not, you know, to not lose relationships with these people. So, and listen to Whack 100, he said that's why, this is why it should be done. You know, Kanye should not be doing this. It's because he's going to piss off the wrong people, because he's going to mess up the politics. They have a right, more or less, in the Wack's eyes, based on how they're politically structured, to make fun of our people or benefit off, you know, capitalize off our pain, exploit our pain, minimize our pain. But when we do it to them, it's the worst thing in the world because we're messing with the politics. And while that may be structurally accurate, it's only structurally accurate because so many of us agree to uphold it. And that people like Wack, as black people, continue to let them play in his face while he holds sacred what is so very sacred to them, makes it so that that works within the politics. See, the one thing that Wack is not taking into account is how much power we have in the sway of the normalization of political practices and what is held sacred. If you don't demand your respect from people who are looking to play in your face, you're not going to have it. And so since we've been in a space where we've allowed them to do this, you know, prioritize their own pain as sacred to not play with, while minimalizing our pain as frivolous to play with, you effectively lock in the difference in your value as a people. And just because they have more and you want more, you allow for them to disrespect you and furthermore minimalize you in the arena from which the politics is played. Wack understands the politics, but he doesn't understand that it's not the money that locks in their ability to demand that we respect their feelings in ways that they don't respect ours. Demand that we don't toy with their feelings in ways that they capitalize off of ours. It's not the money structure and the wealth gap that locks that in. It's the compliance of both parties to play that role that locks that in. If one side says, no, we're not going for that, or we're going to minimalize your stuff, now it forces them into uncomfortable positions within that political structure that force them to change their practices or force them not to be able to politic with you. And if they can't politic with you, it deteriorates the environment itself, because not only does it put a strain on their ability to maneuver, but it also puts a strain on their ability to present that they uphold a certain flexibility in the presence of that market. Your standards should not sway with your ability to present more than the other side. Your respect is what you walk in the room with when you negotiate. When you go in to play the game, you've showered first. You've put on your best clothing first. You present yourself a certain value that will make you worthy of even playing the game. That's what they're toying with, because they know you don't understand it. And so as a result of what you can do within negotiations, or what you can do as it pertains to how you present yourself and how you are treated by those who are playing the game on the other side, that's not determined by things that are outside of your control as it pertains to how much you can get within the game. That has more to do with how you're presenting yourself to be worthy of playing the game. And that's manipulatable when you can make the other side feel like they're not clean even when they've showered. So they're effectively cheating you out of your value, just like they cheat you out of everything else. And you are deserving of a respect based on the fact that you're a player in the game that they need to play. They need you to play. You may need what comes from winning the game, but they need you to play. But because you've allowed them the ability to understand that they have the mental edge on your value and your presentation, they can always lowball you. They can always play in your face. They can always tell you that whatever it is that offends you is not something that should be considered that important, while at the same time having things about on their side of the fence that offend them be so taboo for you to touch. That value is not determined by who has more in the game. That value is determined by who's willing to walk away from the table when they're disrespected. And that's why the money, when it comes to these conversations, for the side who doesn't have the money's the most important thing. For the side who has all the money, maintaining the upper hand is the most important thing. Because we don't want them reaching for your money, nor do you want them thinking they can get it, because if they find a way to get it, you're losing the game. That's why they keep playing in our faces. That's why they keep investing in the deterioration of our image, because it holds value. Because it is not represented in the money. That's why they try to control it so strong. But it can ultimately affect how one side views themselves in regards to their willingness to play, what one side is willing to do to disrupt the peace of the other side for playing with that, and that we won't disrupt their peace as they continue to offend us in ways they demand we don't offend them, is an upper hand that we continue to gift them that they otherwise should not have. They should not have that. But because y'all keep on valuing the ability to play in their politics, thinking that they can play their game without you being present, is just a mistakenness in what it is you're watching. You're just looking at it the wrong way. You're underestimating your flexibility in maintaining your self-respect in the presence of a game that is needed in regards to you playing it. They need you to play. That's what I'm trying to say. So either you, in all of your strength, stand firm in what you're going to respect just like they are, and present yourself a clean player, or they going to continue to toy with that in your face, disrespect you, and then at the same time have the thinnest of skin about how they are to be respected in that way. Now, if that respect and that dignity is not valuable to you, for which in a lot of cases with people like this, it is not, then just say you're punting that as a gift to the other side, which is what basically people like Whack are essentially doing. We will gift you our self-respect, and we will honor your self-respect just as a gift, as a means of saying, hey, you are the upper hand, you're the winning player, and we honor and worship your winnings. We honor and worship the fact that you have the upper hand, for which they didn't get righteously. But then again, people like this don't play righteously, so they don't value things being gotten righteously. They're going to value the pot itself, not how it was received. So that they stole the game, rigged the game, exploited you in order to reach the level they're on, and it's a cheated game. If you don't value dignity, you don't value doing things the right way, you don't value doing things on the up and up, then in the presence of that being the case, of course you're not going to hold them accountable for stealing from you. You're not going to hold them accountable for playing with your name. You're not going to hold them accountable for toying with your image. You're not going to hold them accountable for treating you in ways they demand you don't treat them. But the agreement comes first. If you're going to give them that gift, you got to understand how that works in their game, how that works on their side of the table. That gift is very valuable to them because it gives them the mental edge, which eats away at your confidence. And that confidence is what they use to continue to feel strong enough to have to keep facing you every time they have to come to the table against you. Notice how thin their skin is. That's what I'm telling people like that. Notice how thin their skin is. And they understand that they understand that about themselves, and a lot of what they do is projecting on the others what it is that's in them. That's why they're so terrified of you, because they're willing to do the worst things in the world. They think everybody's like them. That's why they do what they do. And that's how they're able to sleep at night doing all the worst things in the world to people, because they think everybody's worse than them. If they let up, suddenly they're going to suffer the ills of what it is their imagination does to other people. So when you understand that, you never give someone like that the gift of your self-respect and your standards as it pertains to what you're willing to accept from them or not, because that's their Achilles heel. That's where they're weakest at. You're gifting them that. And they psych you into believing that that's what you're supposed to do as a defensive mechanism for taking on pounds of pounding on those weakness spaces. These people, they can't take certain things. They can't take accountability. They can't take someone having the upper hand on them. They can't, as I said, perceive anybody being better than them as it pertains to their dignity and the respect and the way that they would treat others, etc. Everybody's as bad as them. There's no place they won't go to dig into the ground and in the muck in order to maintain what it is that they ultimately have stolen. These standards, you have to stay above those standards to meet your principles. They don't have that. And because of it, they're able to continue to not only win the game, but manipulate it. And this is one of many facets of that process. And because y'all trying to aim for the money, oh, you know, okay, can't disrespect these people. I mean, God forbid I start waving one of their most disrespected images, wear that on my t-shirt. Hell no, they're gonna be pissed at that. But then they get to invest $100 million in images that are meant to do that exact thing to your people. You ain't getting no closer in the wealth gap to these people, because this is one of many ways they keep you from it. You keep on convincing the world and you that you know better than you are. And then furthermore, the complete and utter opposite with themselves. I was sitting up listening to Vlad talk about how his family had lost some people to that circumstance. Like, I'm sorry to hear that. And Whack 100 said, yeah, our people have too. That circumstance hurt our people too. Like, you got to remind them that you are valued within yourself at just as high as they value themselves. Although, to be honest with you, we're not proving that we do. And to be honest with you, I don't know that we should. Because at the end of the day, they value themselves over everyone else. Everyone else. That's not confidence. That's ego-driven nonsense. And they cross that line habitually as a people all the time. So it's impossible to value yourself more than they value themselves, because they value themselves in a space that isn't right. They're willing to hurt everything, including themselves, to uphold that upper hand in that presentation of them being greater than everybody else. Effectively weaponizing everyone's pain against them, pain that they are causing in these other people in the name of themselves. So they effectively leave themselves open to be interpreted as horrible, ruthless, cheaters, playing victim, folly, you know, just utter nonsense that you see represented in them. And it's like, but you value them in such a way that you will allow yourself to never disrespect them, while they simultaneously demand you never disrespect them, and then furthermore disrespect you in those same ways. And so a guy like Kanye steps up to say, no, I'm gonna turn that on its axis and show you how ridiculous that is. And then furthermore, I'm gonna show you what it looks like in the smallest amount from within my own self, what it looks like if you do to them what they've done to us. And then you got people like Whack 100 who gonna sit up and say, nah, don't do that, because you're gonna mess up the politics. And my point of view, man, is the politics already messed up. Because we gotta degrade ourselves, watch them benefit from degrading ourselves, and then furthermore be offended at the fact that anyone would dare do that to them. You don't see nothing wrong with that? You call yourself a proud individual from a community of such that will not take certain things, but you will take that from them? Because they have resources, right? It's like, it's godlessness, bruh. It's godlessness. That's godlessness. You are bending over backwards for weak entities because they present a certain way that you end up ultimately playing into. Know your strength. That's essentially what I'm trying to express in my conversation with you. But the problem is you can't walk away from the game table, so you're never gonna demand your respect at it. And they counting on you never wanting to walk away from that game table. That's the problem. You're so afraid of what happens if you lose that you don't realize that you force them into losses when you walk away. That's the part that I think a lot of people lose in regards to watching these circumstances and trying to assess how to play them. You walking away from the table forces a loss to the other side, because now they ain't got nobody to play with. They got to turn their attention to somebody they don't have warped up in that weird, you know, psychological acceptance of mistreatment. They got to go to somebody they probably aren't going to be able to play with like that and start negotiating with them. That's why they like you at the table, because they can keep on doing this to you, and you ain't gonna do nothing but say, yes sir, no sir, sorry sir, I ain't never gonna disrespect you. You go ahead and make fun of us though. It's funny, ain't it? Ha ha, look at them. And I'm gonna tell him tomorrow, if he ever tried to disrespect you, forget him. But you can disrespect me, I don't mind. That's what he's doing. That's the mentality of what a lot of my people are doing out here. And they walk away from it effectively saying, well, African Americans are docile. Africans they have I read something they say in their pineal gland there's a space that allows them to submit, and they just push over, and they're easily manipulatable in that regard because they have a certain thing. There's a certain deficiency in their brains that just allow for them to just submit to us. I'm like, I don't have that shit in my head. No, I ain't get that. If that's a scientific fact, my white genes must be kicking in, because that shit ain't in my skull, y'all. That's not there. I don't care. You see what I'm saying? I guess that's when y'all genes kick in my body, because yeah, my head's like y'all's. And that way, I don't play like that. I'm telling y'all, man, at the end of the day, they get to walk away and say this stuff because we keep on reinforcing it by allowing them to disrespect us, benefit off of our pain, minimalize our pain, and just like accept it as if it's culture. Well, this is just what it's been for 400 years, so why would we care? Of course, they gonna feel a certain way. They ain't had this happen to them for the last 400 years. In fact, it's rather rare. So yeah, they gonna feel upset that people playing with their name. They're not used to it. Well, they don't need to get used to it, but neither should we continue to be used to it. I don't think anybody should be having their pain toyed with or made fun of, or have what they feel is offensive be minimalized by other people who can't relate. I don't think that's right on anybody's scale. But I understand why somebody would otherwise do it to them, so they feel it, so they understand why it's not something that we should allow any further. And I support Kanye West if that's what his intention is. As messed up as his methods are, to meet extreme, you got to be extreme. You know, they say to catch a monster, you got to be a monster. To catch a bad guy, you got to be a bad guy. You got to think like one. It's the same thing. It's offensive because you're not used to seeing him make fun of those people, but they make fun of us all the time, and it's fine. They invest in us making fun of us a good portion of the time, which is why it's not seen as such. Maybe Kanye's biggest mistake is not hiring somebody from their community to go on this campaign, so it can make a bit more sense. Because that's what they do. They don't dare step up with their bodies making fun of us like that. They ain't gonna step up there and let artists that they have representing their people be as bold and as brash as to call us the N-word and call us whatever, however they want to offend us. No, they're gonna hire black people to offend black people, and they stand behind safe. They stand in somewhere else while that's happening. That's how they operate. They don't put their own self on the line to do that. And I think that's where he's making a real mistake. Putting the target on his body's back, putting the target on his children's back, etc., by toying with these people pain like this. And he's supposed to be hiring their people to do this. And he got enough money to do it too. You can find some. You can find a Jewish person that'll wear a swastika shirt if you want to do that. I wouldn't necessarily do that myself. I don't find myself intentional on hurting others to make people understand why they shouldn't hurt me. I think there's a better way. I personally think there's a much better way than digging down in the dirt. I think that's evil's practice. As I said, there's nowhere they won't go. They want to go lower than you so that they can have what it is that you don't have, doing what it is that you won't do. I don't have to do that, nor do I need what it is that ultimately I'm digging for that bad. It's to degrade myself like they are in their representation of themselves as they do the worst things. No. I don't need what you have at the table that bad. And I keep telling people that. I don't need that $1 million contract. I don't need to go through what you're going through, celebrity, and being silent watching children die in your phone, so that you can keep your contract going. I don't need to exalt myself that bad. I don't need a voice that loud that bad. I don't need to create on their platforms that bad. I don't need any damn thing that bad. And that is my leverage. Everything they say they're going to take from me, I tell them I don't want. And then proceed to do whatever the hell it is they don't want me to do, because I don't need what they have. That's the difference between me and so many other people. I'd rather have my voice. I'd rather say what I want to say. You can't tell me I can't speak on this or that and the third, because you're not providing me anything. Anything that would otherwise keep me in a position to keep silent. You're not going to take my contract. I never signed it. You're not going to take my home. I'm not there. You ain't going to keep me from traveling. I'm staying still. And I have the voice that I need to move as freely as I do with it. You got some of the most famous privy to circumstances type people in the world, silent as hell, with their going crazy about it because they don't feel they have the ability to use that voice and that platform that they have. But what good is the platform if I can't use it for stuff like this? What good is my voice if I can't speak on any real shit? A lot of y'all just want to be famous for famous sake, but you're reinforcing more of the same that ultimately deteriorates the world. You're not providing anything but a self-exhaustion, which is empty and forgotten about in the long run. No one don't remember you, but the people alive to see you do it today. For which most of them will be forgotten for their complicity to genocide and their willingness to do things this way. I won't align. I don't need to. I'm strong enough to not. I lived 40 years without some of these riches and wealth that y'all need. I don't need it. I'm comfortable in my apartment. I'm in my little space. I'm comfortable in my circumstances, even if they're difficult. It's better than me not having the ability to have my own voice while people playing in my face, doing the worst things in the world. Toying with my value, killing my brother, killing my cousin down in the Middle East, hurting their children, people screaming and hollering, screaming, "Where's me?" as it pertains to my voice. When they see me on TV, plastered in front of a million people doing God knows what, but never speaking on anything real, man, I don't need that reality. That's not a reality for me. Go home to my wife who only wants me for my money, my big happy home that ain't really all that happy. It's only one person that got like 30 rooms. You know what I'm saying? And lay my head down knowing I ain't did nothing to help nobody, but at least I kept my space in this wealthy, empty ass life. Man, I'm cool, bro. I think I find more fulfillment in the spaces that they're most afraid of. I think I find more dignity in these spaces. I think I'm more dangerous to the enemy in these spaces. Using my voice to call out their racism and their bullshit. To show them themselves. And I know they watch it. And they have to watch. Because there's a living God who's going to make sure they see it. So it's not about me controlling or them controlling nothing. That's the problem that a lot of us run into. We feel like they have control over so much, in order for us to have what we need, we got to comply to their bullshit. That's spiritually bankrupt and weak of the mind. I don't need a damn thing them people got. It's all cursed. I keep telling y'all. It's all cursed. I just need a relationship with God. He will make it so that I'm fine with what I have. He'll make it so that I can live without what they have. And furthermore, embodying the strength within me to continue to speak against them as they continue to cheat the game. I don't have to play like that. I'm trying to keep my house on. I come from, and see, this is what ends up happening to a lot of us. I come from the gutter. Why do you think that gutter is the gutter as it is? Because within the power that they have in their imagination for evil, they continue to keep it a gutter. Fool, you're reinforcing why that gutter exists. If somebody would have been effective in stopping them in the past, you wouldn't have been raised in no gutter. You wouldn't have such ridiculous trauma coming from spaces from which you do. It was because of the celebrities who were silent and complicit before you, and the government people who were bought and paid for before you, that made it so that you were raised in the gutter you were in. People don't want to get to the root. They just want to keep themselves safe from what it is they fear. Cowering. And that cowardice is what gives birth to them continuing to be brazen in their disrespect. I ain't that type of stupid, friend. They've convinced all of you to believe that they're more important than them. That's more important than you. That's why you believe you need to not do certain things that are going to piss them off, while they continue to do things that you dare not do to them. They're not. How do they enforce that? How do they enforce that? Well, wealth brings about violence. Okay. Well, we're killing each other every day. What the hell are we afraid of violence for? They have the power to do this, do that, and why do they have that power? Because of our complicity and allowing them to play with us, and furthermore, play with the game the way they have. They're at the mercy of our willingness to not strike. Then they got to tear up the whole world around them to keep themselves safe at night, which won't keep them safe. They need you to be psychologically warped so that they don't have to go through the lengths that it would take to stop you when you are no longer taking their bullshit, for which they don't want to be ready for. They ain't never been challenged that way. Why? Because we've always been complicit to their bullshit. It's not like they battle tested and all this. They not. They are safe and sound behind the psychological warfare that they weaponize against so many, including us. It makes them safe. Because they know you're not going to harm them. It's just like I said, the analogy I often like to bring up. with Demolition Man. The dude's holding the gun up to the guy, but he can't pull the trigger because of what they did to his mind. It ain't no different. This is a metaphor for that same thing. This is what they were showing us by writing that script. And this is what a lot of us as people on the bottom end end up doing. It's more of us than them. Yeah, they can move stuff around with their money, but how can they keep themselves safe? They have bodies, they're flesh and blood. How do they keep Luigi's from popping their skulls open? Psychological domination is what keeps them safe, or at least they hope. Then they got to go to the furthest ends of the earth to get away from your ass. They got to hide behind mercenaries and armies to protect them, and hope that those armies will honor that. Like, I'm not. And then furthermore, all of us gonna die any damn way. Most of the time, because of something they control in a lot of cases. I mean, like, we're expiring by the second. And you're gonna let them continue to pass this forward to people who are gonna be just as mortal as you in the future, as they continue to control minds and garner wealth that is gotten off of ill-gotten gain, at the behest of your compliance and your willingness to play into those psychological games that they play over your head, psychological abuse that they apply to you and your people. I'm not rolling with that. I'm gonna get mad at Kanye because he's messing up the politics. The politics is messed up. I'm gonna get mad at Kanye because he's gotten sick of them toying with his image and his people and playing with his money and playing with his talent. Snatching away $8 billion because he dare hold them accountable for the awful stuff that they do, or call them out for the imbalance of how they operate toward others. Nah, fam, I don't play like that. I don't play like that. You gonna throw a sexy red in my face? Invest in her continuing to deteriorate the image of my daughters? Cool. I'm gonna wear a swastika shirt. What's the problem? We all F with each other. We all messing with each other's pain. We all capitalize on each other's pain. And it's the presence of you being taught how to behave like a dog who ain't gonna piss on the couch that ultimately keeps them in a position of not having piss on the damn couch. It's your behavior that they stand behind, because if you decide to bite their ass, they in trouble. I keep telling y'all, it's that psychological shit that ultimately is what keeps them safe. It ain't nothing else. It ain't their wealth. It ain't none of that shit. It's your adherence to their nonsense. And they're example setting every time they get a chance to win a small battle. So that you will be fearful, which is also psychological. And then what they did to the Black Panthers, you never want to build another. None of y'all ever gonna do that again. Because what, you gonna do that 1,000,000 times if we do it 1,000,000 times? You don't have the resources to do that. You're not strong enough to do that. But you do have the psychological manhandling, so to speak, over the minds of a good portion of us. So once we see something like that, we'll be fearful to never toy with you again. And then you, outnumbered, are safe behind that behavior. This is how they continue to screw people over. It's them being able to toy with your mind psychologically and furthermore control that for which goes into your head to do so. I am not wired to be one of those people that see that and not defend myself against it. This is what I want people to understand about this person. I'm going to defend myself against that. I'm going to point out the hypocrisy. I'm going to point out the fact that we do outnumber you. I'm going to point out the fact that if there was 1,000 Black Panthers, they couldn't stop them all. And if we discipline ourselves against needing what they have, we probably get it all. Because you believe you need it, they can keep it from you, ironically enough. They understand this. What they need your black ass to do is to not understand this. And look, I want to let my white friends know, we don't, and I speak for myself and many others, we don't move like that. Just because a lot of people who are in power don't fathom us being better than them as human beings, we are a lot better than them as human beings. We would never harm anyone's children. Not as a people, not as an agreement to what it is that we think will keep us alive. We're not weak like that. We don't need to do that. That's a weakness within them that makes it so that they can't stand strong unless they have the ability to destroy children in the Middle East and have psychological strangleholds on the people around them. They can't survive unless they do, they believe. We don't have that problem. They need to control everything. They're not just in control of everything. It's their freaking lifeline. They don't think they can survive if they're not able to control every damn thing. That's the secret about these people. They're more desperate than we are. That's why they do the worst things in the world to get everything, because they don't feel they can survive if they don't. That's what I understand about them, that a good most of us don't. They're afraid of the scariest, weakest people in the world that need everything in order to survive. I don't need everything in order to survive. I just need my portion. You know, I think about something else Whack 100 said, that it's aligned in that same space. He was talking about Big U. I don't know if this is true or not, but the analogy is relevant. He was essentially saying that Big U, when somebody helps Big U out, Big U run around and starts being jealous of them because he can't stand the fact that he, within all of his glory, can't be in a position to do for himself, or can't be in a position to do that for someone else. So he starts to resent the people that help him, because psychologically in his head, he can't stand not being in a position of strength in order to do those things. As to where Whack 100 was describing what it is he wants us to believe about himself, which is somebody who can help everybody and see people get more than him, because if he falls on cushion based on those he's helped having more than he ever had. So he's not in a space in his mind, he believes of himself, to not be somebody who's insecure in the presence of his friends and people around him being bigger and stronger and more powerful and more rich than him. Because if he were to ever fall, he has the richest and most powerful and strongest friends that he helped. He's secure when others have more, he says. I don't know these things to be true. That ain't my point. The point is, this is what is applied to that understanding as it pertains to the people we're talking about. They gotta have the most. They're not secure in a space. They don't see it as them having good friends that can provide for them when they need to fall. They ain't never gonna let themselves fall, because they're gonna do everything they can to keep from falling, including making sure that you're down there. Like, they are the equivalent of what he was describing of Big U. And the good, whoever the good is, are the equivalent of how he's describing himself. You can be the dominant people, Jews. We don't care. We don't need everything to feel like we're valuable. Not without the presence of you telling us we're not. We believe ourselves to be valuable without being dominant over everybody and everything. I don't need to be the most proven or the most chosen for anything. I don't need that. God don't have to tell me I'm better than everybody else for me to be able to walk around in my own skin. I'm fine in my own skin without that. Without the presence of being chosen, it's like they end up feeling like they ain't nobody. I don't have that problem. We don't have that problem. I don't need to dominate the whole damn world to enjoy my life as a people. People can have an equal amount all over the place, and we can all enjoy together and celebrate together. And if anybody falls, we can all pick them up, and it won't hurt none of us, because we all got a lot. I don't have to keep everybody down to prop myself up. That's weakness. It's absolute weakness. Now, the presence of the trauma of being kept underneath someone's feet may then awaken within us a desire to get back at them by wanting the same thing for them that they've wanted for us. But that's not organic. That comes from a space of trauma. If there are people who feel that way, which I'm sure there are a lot of them who do, they can't wait to get back at somebody to do the same thing that's been done to them. But ain't nothing good coming to that. When we turn around and try to be black supremacists and then try to mimic those who've done to us what's been done to them, or what's been done to us, that doesn't equate to us being any better than them. If anything, it just makes us weak just then. I don't want to be weak. I don't embody any weakness as it pertains to that. So why would I want to embrace it from here? I can endure such things and not need to hurt nobody else in the same way. That's a strength in and of itself, is it not? The concepts of these things are so foreign to them. They ain't even giving themselves a chance in a lot of cases to see if this could be the case, because they're too busy trying to dominate. They don't even know if they're strong enough to live without being the chosen ones, because they never allowed not to be. They're too fearful, too godless to allow for such submission. But the inverted idea of that truth is that they are submitting to the devil because of it. You're not chosen for nothing. You're tools of the enemy in a losing battle to take from God what cannot be taken, which is his dignity. And see, and that's ultimately what this is really about. Though most of the subjects within it don't understand that, as I keep telling y'all, it's a spiritual war that they're losing. Trying to take things from God on behalf of the enemy, and he is not relinquishing anything. He's going to take it all back, even if you get a good portion of it. They're waging war against God. That's why they're always losers, no matter what fashion or faction they decide to engage in. If they're working for the devil, they're going to lose. The bigger picture is God is in control. We already know who's on the winning side. So why would we ever, within the circumstances we exist, play games with people that we know are losing? This is why the spiritual understanding of circumstances need to trump a lot of what it is that is worldly in regards to it, because it'll be a compass through the worldly fog, so to speak. Worldly fog that will have you thinking that the loser's the winner, and that the strong is the weak, and that the weak is the strong. That's the confusion that's necessary for the enemy to stay in a weakened space while appearing strong, to continue to have the mental hold over those that he's ultimately otherwise stronger than, or not stronger than in this case, rather. That's how the strong find themselves underneath the weak. It's because of devilish confusion and psychological domination that really is not in control, doesn't really control the movements of the strong, if not for the strong's willingness to cower underneath it. We gotta be stronger than that, people. That's what I'm saying to you, man. We, as black folks, brown folks, people of whatever, indigenous, however brown, the people of the sun, we can't keep letting those who are fighting for the losing side, who are weaker than us in number and every damn thing else, really, continue to control our minds and have us respecting things about them that they wouldn't afford us the respect of in our own respective corners. They toy with you every day. They keep on doing horrible things to you year in, year out, generation in, generation out. And it's that psychological stranglehold that they have over your head that keeps you in a space for which you allow it to happen. And furthermore, not strike back at them in the numbers that you ultimately have. They divide and conquer you, continue to keep you in spaces where you're promoted nonsense that ultimately makes you think of yourself as your own enemy, so that you're not weaponizing yourself against them for what you deserve to be able to win. Not so that you can dominate like them, but so you can get out from underneath their unreasonable stranglehold on your people. This is not evil. This is a reaction to pain that has been placed upon you by people who had evil in their hearts. You are not wrong for striking back at that. You're not wrong for reacting to that. You're not wrong for defending yourself. You're not wrong for showing them that this should have never been done. I support Kanye West, though not in his practices as it pertains to how he's going about it, because it's against my ethics to do so. But he will be effective in what it is he's trying to accomplish, because he will show all of us that we should have never been made fun of, nor should anyone else. That hate was never something to normalize, pointed at us or someone else. It should never have been minimalized as it pertains to our pain and different things that we've gone through, just like the things that others go through should not be minimalized or toyed with either. These were practices that were immoral, shameful, and disgusting. And those who benefited from that were just as. And look how poor we are representing ourselves when we mimic that behavior. So too should we look at them that same way when they behave that way. And never again should we allow them to tell us how important it is that their pain be respected while simultaneously affording them the opportunity to benefit off ours. That you are important, that you are valuable, that you do not have to be afraid of what happens when you don't stand at the table with people who don't respect you. That you do not need what they have, nor need to eat off their hand or their plate or their table or their boot or whatever the hell it is that you're going to put your mouth on to make them feel better about themselves. You don't have to do any of those things. They will have to negotiate with you. They're not going to be able to rid the world of you. It's more you than it is of them, and you are on the right because they've done a bunch of stuff they had no business doing. That's the God's honest truth. Bdf 44, I thank you all for watching. I'm out.